Hey everybody, welcome to KetoMom page. My name is Stephanie, and we are going to touch on some different things you can do in your home to create, well, not even create, how about this? Filling your home with positive emotions. It kind of goes along the lines of, we've been talking about EQ, your emotional quotient, and we are going through this book called, oh, you guys, why didn't you tell me it was backwards? The Power of One More. I gotta flip the screen around. I always think this is funny. I wonder if you can notice it when I do it. All right, as you're tuning in, where are you tuning in from? If you did not see my live from yesterday, we did like a nailed it or failed it. I made some salmon bites, which tasted delicious, but they were burned and they didn't look very appetizing, but I'm going to redo them today and they're gonna be great. So as you're tuning in, why don't you share with us? You're tuning in from Singapore, how are you? I love it. We have some friends that come over from Singapore and visit us here. So as you're tuning in, how about you tell me this? I've got two things. Did you eat breakfast this morning or did you intermittent fast? And what are you having for lunch? Gives people ideas. So I am going to be making some more salmon bites so you can actually see that if you don't overcook them in the air fryer, they taste great. Now for this morning, which is not really even morning, it's almost afternoon, but we had I don't like to say busy because I sometimes think that when you say you're busy, people are like, oh, I'm busy. But I'm like, oh, I'm busy. Like I'm productively busy with the things that I want to do with my children and my life. So this morning was I had a lot of stuff going on and we have to leave in just a little bit to pick up one of our daughters from, what is she doing? Annie, what is she doing? Sewing camp. So our daughter Eliza is at sewing camp. Two of our girls are gone with dad. So our second daughter, Emery, is getting another brain scan to look at how things are going. She was the one that got thrown off the horse last month. So we're still working through that. It's going great. So she's on her way to check this out, which is great. So all good things, all good things. I have been productively busy. And really great conversations this morning. Hence why I didn't get on earlier. All right, so, good question. Should you eat a whole avocado in one sitting? That's a good question. And I'll answer that by saying this. It depends on your goals. It really depends on your goals. And I'll just give you this very brief statement. If you are doing a strict ketogenic diet, I just caught her question, so I'm going to answer it. If you're doing a strict ketogenic diet, then you're eating a whole bunch. Oh, this fly. Hey, Annie, can you get me the fly gun? Have you guys ever seen a fly gun? Shoot salt. So great. So, you might have to take a chair and look on the top of the refrigerator. So if you're eating a whole avocado, to me, you're eating, like you're tracking your food, you're super strict keto, you're under 20 carbs a day, and you're doing a keto diet. If you're doing low carb and you're not overeating, you're not eating whenever you want to, even if it's keto. You guys, I got the funniest message yesterday. It's not, okay, this isn't it. Don't turn me in. It's a salt. It's got salt in it. Gotta be careful what's on here because people turn me in for nudity and I've never even been on a swimsuit in social media. If you didn't hear about that last week, I couldn't do lives because I was clearly a nudist sitting here doing a live with you. So weird. Anyways, so I have to be really weird. It's just interesting. If you see a fly, you can get it. Yeah. So that's just like, here's your keto tip of the day. You can overeat good fats if you're actually not keto. There is a difference between keto and low carb, right? So there is a difference. I actually have just come to the conclusion myself and decided that if you really think that you're keto, like true keto, then you're tracking your food and you're actually very much aware of what you're eating. If you're low carb, that's great. You don't get to eat all the fat that you want, and you don't get to eat it because it's keto. I had a girl message me yesterday, and she's like, all right, I fell to the trap of eating everything I saw in sight because I was like, it's keto, I can eat it, and therefore I'm not losing the fat that I want. I'm not feeling the best because I'm eating all of this stuff, even though it's keto, and it's clearly not working, so we need to readjust. Eat when I'm hungry. Don't overeat processed keto foods. That's all I would say. If you're keto, go for it. Eat your avocado. If you're low carb, eat half of it. Add it to some of your foods. Make sense? There's your keto tip of the day. Also, what are you having for lunch coming up? Gives people ideas. So here's what I'm doing with this book. if you have been tuning in at any point in time, we go through different books and different things to help you on your mindset. So I'm not even going to say morning, sometime in the morning or afternoon, hopefully in the morning, depending on how my productive morning goes. So as I'm going to go through this book, I'm not going to go for it word for word, chapter by chapter. I'm going to go through and pick out things that I feel like the Keto Mom community needs and also can put towards their life. In most of the time, it's health and fitness that people are going after on here, right? And then I like to tell people, I know some things that people need, and they need to work on their mindset. They don't always want it. They need it. What they want is for me to tell them how to cook salmon bites and show them that I failed. I'm not perfect. And then I'm going to remake them and show them how they're great. I'll do that today. If you didn't watch the other live, go back and watch yesterday's live. But here is a couple things to keep in mind. I've talked about EQ here on the page many times. So he talks about the power of your emotions in this chapter. I think it's on chapter 5, and how it can control so many things in your life. It can help you create momentum. It can help you hold on to things from the past. It can help you make excuses. And so if you understand you've got IQ, how smart you are, your EQ is how well you handle your emotions. So that's what he's talking about. And I just went to the very end because I liked how he said this. He says, if you want to have a house filled with positive emotions, let's just say a peaceful home. We have a sign in our hallway when you walk into our front door that says, welcome to the home of Shalom. And there's a Bible verse on the bottom of the sign. And so we call our home the home of Shalom. Shalom means peace. And so I want people to come here to a home that feels peaceful. If you don't have peace in your home, which could cause stress eating or emotional eating, or maybe a peaceful work environment, like part of that is something that you can control, and part of it is things you cannot control. The things you can control are you and your emotions and how you react and how you take care of yourself so you can overflow into other people. So let me ask you this. So he says, I want you to fill your home with positive emotions. He says there are some actions you can take to move consciously towards your emotional mindset, right? And you might be going, how is this going to help me with fat loss? Hands down, it will help 99% of you, because 99% of you probably eat out of emotion. Anybody think that's true? So he says, number one, he talks about meditation. When you slow your brain down and you concentrate and focus on what you want, your brain engages and moves closer to your goals. Meditation could be sitting in your room for 5 minutes and just sitting and being still before you make a decision. There's lots of different apps that run you through meditation. You could be sitting and listening to worship music. You could be sitting and listening to a book or an audible book. Meditation is what you make it. It's not like a have to be doesn't have to be an hour, but it's legitimately sitting for a moment and shutting down your mind. So he says, what can help create positive emotions or in yourself or in your environment is the first thing you need to do is work on yourself and calm yourself down, or find yourself to where you've got peace as you're going to go into other people's homes or into workspaces or environments. You're going to bring the peace with you because you have your EQ in check. So he says, number one, meditation is super helpful. Number two, he says, find balance. He says, if all you do is work, even though you love it, you have to find time to rest and recover. He says, any setbacks or negative emotions can pile up and produce an oversized clutter. And he says, oftentimes, if people don't have, everybody has a different viewpoint on balance. Some people feel like you can balance your life, and there's people that I've read and talked to that feel like there's actually no such thing as balance. Let me ask you this. Do you feel like there's really, truly that you can create balance in your life? Some experts or people who write books or speakers, I often hear people say there's no such thing as balance. I hear this more often. Priorities are never in conflict, which means if you get up and everything's great in your home and you're going to work, your priority right now is your work, right? You got up in the morning, took care of your kids or did everything you needed. Priority, go to work. And all of a sudden somebody calls you, let's say a family member, and you're needed right away. And you can leave your work. Your priority is your child, right? Or let's say you're at home and the phone is ringing, but you've got a screaming kid. Your priority is your screaming kid, right? Priorities are never in conflict. Some people say there's not really a true work-life balance. Things come in seasons. Whatever balance means to you, I would say it's more like spiritual balance, emotional balance, work balance. I would say a lot of it comes with your mindset of like when you're focused in at work, you're emotionally there and can handle it. When you're at home, you learn how to handle your emotions and control your temper or your mood or the way that you talk to your family. I feel like balance most of the time starts with how well you're taking care of yourself in the morning for you to be able to respond in any situation at the appropriate time well. That to me is balance, because there's seasons. There are seasons where my husband and I have worked so much and so hard, and there's seasons where it wasn't as crazy. So you can take that for what it's worth. So he said meditation helps bring positive emotions. Finding balance helps create positive emotions. He says identifying your triggers. He says this goes all the way back to intentionality. He says figure out what makes you angry and frustrated. Things like maybe you can't stand when people run late, or if people cancel on you, or if there's certain annoying coworkers, or if you don't like seeing politics online, or taxes, or he says whatever triggers you. He says you need to have an awareness. Take some time, put your triggers in perspective. Some things you can control and change and some things you can't, but you need to have an awareness of what triggers you and why, which could cause negative emotions, which could cause, in this case, emotional eating. So if you understand what frustrates you, you can go, to be expected. I can control this or I can't. And then you you control the things you can, and then you let go of the things that you can't. And then lastly, he says, resolve to change the way you think. Identifying a negative emotion, which we've talked about, and turning it into a positive one, changing the way you speak, changing the words that come out of your mouth, maybe going back to the meditation because you've realized like, oh my goodness, I've had a trigger. I'm not going to handle it well. I need to go sit by myself. And then he says this, Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. So is he. As a man thinketh, here and here, so is he. I would be if there's one thing, and I say it over and over again, I sound like a repetitive, like stuck on the same track. That's what I sound like often, is really, really work on what you're thinking, what you're speaking. And if all you're doing is thinking about your fat loss right now, then what are you thinking about? How are you responding to things? Are you responding out of emotions? What are the words that are coming out of your mouth? Do you believe that you can or you can't? I cannot stress enough the power of this. Getting up, being thankful, sitting in quiet time, controlling your emotions, not letting your environment overrun you. You are in control. And it takes just having awareness and having like, I can control my emotions. Sometimes it's like when you're at work or you've got a screaming kid, or maybe you're stuck in the school line or you're stuck in traffic. All you have to do is go like this. My kids know sometimes when I just don't want to say anything because I might not say anything nice. Sometimes I just give them a look and I'm like, and I think for a second and tell myself I don't have to react. And then I'll respond when I can. We all get there. I'm not going to respond by grabbing food. I'm not going to respond by yelling. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I mean, like, that's ideally what would be great. But your emotions run a lot of your life. Like it or not, you could probably track all the way back to the reason you are where you are today, part of it. Maybe you feel like you're super overweight. Maybe a lot of it has to do with health stuff. And you could maybe track it back to emotions and how you handle things and how you go towards food. It's really a big issue of, I would say, probably one of the number one reasons why people deal with being overweight is because they don't know how to handle situations, emotions, when things come up. So they gravitate towards food because food seems to fix things, and it doesn't. Clearly it doesn't. So why do we read books? To help you, give you an awareness, to help you do something, to work on something. If anything, you realize you catch yourself freaking out or getting frustrated or getting sad or whatever the case may be, and you find yourself gravitating towards that, and all of a sudden you go, oh my goodness, I do that, and you just had a light bulb go on, and the next time you'll catch it earlier and earlier and earlier. So that is your thought for today. This is a book that we're going to go through. We are going through. If you have it, it's great. I'm just picking out a couple things that can help you as we go along the way. I would encourage you to get the book. It's a super powerful book. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in. I will share a video later of the salmon bites that actually worked for me today because I overcooked them yesterday, but they did taste great. So I'll make the salmon bites again. I will write out the recipe and I will share it with you because they're going to be so good. Otherwise, have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.